Blessed peace and love, family. It's Tone Deaf with the definiteconsciousness.com. Man, this video is entitled Who Am I? And ironically, I just want to start the first video off by letting you know who I am, getting used to seeing my face, and letting you know what my MO is, my motivation, my reason for making videos. So to start off, Antonio Daniel, Norfolk, Virginia, born and raised. I'll be 28 September 18th, which is right around the corner. And it was time for me to just really focus on helping people wake up and showing exactly how easy and beneficial it can be to be woke. Okay, so we're gonna do a lot of videos. We're gonna, see each other a whole lot on YouTube. Subscribe if you want, like if you want, but promise you'll give your opinion, your complete opinion, because now this is just the next step in my journey of consciousness. I came up with definite consciousness because on this channel we're gonna make sure that consciousness is a definite thing that we focus on. Consciousness, the idea of rising your spiritual levels, to operate on a plane that ain't just physical, that ain't just what you see. So from me to you in this video, we're communicating spiritually. It all has a lot to do with consciousness. But I found that this first reaction video is called Who Am I? It's a short story about basically Bionic Man. And if you don't understand the Bionic Man idea, it's all about, machinery and humanoids becoming an interlinked thing. Okay, loosely, that's what it's all about. So like, shout out to guys like Elon Musk, whatever his name is actually pronounced. People that's doing AI, Tesla that's doing self-driving cars and things like that. The things that really make the future the future. I was born in '92, and the Jetsons was showing us a suitcase that turned into a spaceship and things like that. So this has always been in the back of our consciousness. But short stories tend to predict the future as well. So we're gonna just react to this called Who Am I? And let's just get into what they're talking about.
The year was 2122.
Alright, 2122 is now 2020. So based on this short story, 102 years will be the number of 102 years from now. Okay.
He had recently begun its first real phase of mass-scale bionic body augmentations. For the first time, it was now normal for people to swap out body parts with more robust, technologically integrated prosthetics for non-medical purposes.
For non-medical purposes, recreational purposes, Now, listen to this video, and that's another reason I started this video is, the first video on the channel or whatever, because this is just a concept, this is not, this is not a Bible. We're not discussing Bible. We're not discussing fact. We're not discussing, even though there are technological advances that, point us in this direction, just take this very loosely,
Named Jack, age 29, had held off on all body modifications for as long as he could, and was of the small remaining percentage of entirely organic adult human bodies. Jack worked one of the few still existing physical labor-based jobs, assisting in the construction, upkeep, and use of robotic machinery used to load and unload cargo shipping containers onto commercial ships that self-navigated themselves to and from delivery ports.
Okay, this is like the last time for a couple of seconds that I'm going to pause this, but Jack is 29 and he works on this machinery or this technology, and he has yet to get a piece for himself. And I'm not acting like y'all dumb, like y'all can't follow the story, but this is what reaction is to me. These are all like very, very important details in a story. So Let's just see what else comes up.
While being one of the few remaining workers with biological arms and legs, Jack had inevitably fallen behind the increasingly high standards of the job. Naturally, his biological arms and legs grew tired and could exert only about 1/15 the force of the vast majority of his
Okay, sorry, I had to get it again. He was one of the one people, well, he was one person there that was all biological, and he did 1/15. Is that what they said? A 15th of the work that, these machines were doing. What does this remind you of? The idea that definitely 100 years from now, grocery stores, McDonald's, rallies, places like that, probably will be completely taken over by, you guessed it, machinery, technology, AI. So is this something we should focus on? Is this something we shouldn't focus on? Is this all, just bullshit? Is this all let me know in the comments what y'all think.
workers who had opted for the company-funded CyberBuild brand mechanical prosthetic arms and legs. In order to stay afloat in the competitive automated job market, on June 3rd, 2124, Jack finally opted into giving up his biological arms and legs for bionic replacements. These bionic prosthetics operated by implanting various electrodes in areas of the brain that control movement and process touch sensation. The electrodes were then activated and engaged by the user's brain neurons as the user thought about and sensed movement, directing nerve signals back through the electrodes and into the bionic limbs, moving them essentially just like biological arms and legs. Following the procedure at the bionic surgery facility, Jack filled out all the necessary forms with his new hands. It was a bit tricky, but not too bad, he found. At the bottom of the form, he signed his name on the signature line, Jack Otis. Several years went by. It took Jack a little time to fully adapt and get used to the idea of his new arms and legs, but fairly quickly, he came to barely even notice them. Initially, he didn't recognize them when he looked down, but since he never really considered his arms and legs to be a crucial part of his sense of identity, it was relatively easy to eventually just assimilate them as a part of him.
Never really seen his identity as his arms and legs. So two things happened here. Eventually he caved, if you want to think about it that way. Eventually he caved in and, got this machinery. And he did not see his arms and legs as part of his personality. Why? Because inner being. You're an inner being. You live within, and it projects out. You're not on the outside living in. You're on the inside living outward.
However, simultaneous to Jack getting fully accustomed to the new appendages, with technology and medical advancements seeming to only continue to multiply, much of the rest of humanity had begun taking on other newly developed, more extreme bionic augmentations in order to keep up with the increasingly competitive automated job market, as well as the heightening standards of living. Over the span of about 15 years, by age 45, Jack had exchanged out his ribcage, spine, eyes, ears, teeth, heart, several other organs, and eventually his skull and neck.
Not even a human no more. You are some form of a hybrid, but you are no longer a human. Or are you?
Augmented replacements provided technological integrations that synchronized with external devices while also improving bodily strength, functionality, and longevity. These modifications were also intended to aid in slowing down the aging process and extending the universal average lifespan, which, with many of these initial bionic replacements, was predicted to easily extend in and past 200 or 300 years at least. At this point, Jack was essentially a human brain in a vat atop an almost entirely different mechanical body.
We've seen that plenty of times before. So many times. So many shows. So many cartoons. So many. Futurama? You see this. You see this in the animation Futurama. They are human brains in a vat on top of a metal body. Y'all have to tell me in the comments, is this something that's just so far-fetched? Is this something that's coming up soon? In my opinion, we are closer than 102 years to this type of technology. Okay? So stay woke. Pay attention.
The riskiest procedure, which also happened to be the last one Jack underwent, was the skull replacement that changed out his normal skull for a bionically integrated metal one, requiring his brain to be removed and then placed back into the new head, neck, and spinal configuration. Exteriorly, the skull looked like a completely normal human head with otherwise natural-looking skin and facial features, making the aesthetic transition fairly benign. However, each person who underwent the procedure was given the choice to change how their face looked to essentially anything they'd like, which Jack opted in for. Never having really liked his face all that much, he decided on a new one that looked completely different. Prior to and following the procedure, along with all the earlier procedures, Jack filled out and agreed to a variety of lengthy waiver and clearance forms, signing his name on each. Jack Otis.
Signing your name on a dotted line. And signing your essence away. Or are you? You're very objective here, but I mean, I'm not gonna watch this whole video and react to this entire thing because, you know, I give it up to you. I leave it up to you to, you know, finish, or I leave all of the links in the description. But we'll watch probably about 30-40 more seconds, and I'll let you decide. Let me know what you think.
Within only a year of each procedure, sometimes just a few months, Jack mostly became used to his new augmented body parts. The face was of course the hardest and longest one to adapt to, but eventually, within the year or so, he started to recognize himself in it just the same as his old one. His face was never really him anyway, Jack felt. It was merely just the cover in front of him, and any arrangement or form of it could be him just as easily. At least once he got used to it. Ultimately, he lived contently with his new bionic body, feeling like no more than just a physically improved version of his original self. Several more years would go by. By this point, as a result of increasing artificial intelligence development, Jack had been automated out of his original job field, and the global socioeconomic system had shifted away from nearly all physical-based jobs. Consequently, after a harsh transition period, new industries, markets, and jobs started to take form across the internet landscape, especially related to things like VR, AR, art, communication, experiential services, software, and so on. Jack?
And I think that's more than a better place to, you know, to stop. You know, this is getting really, really deep. You know, they mention the internet. You know, they mention, you know, all of the things that, you know, probably not a fear to some, but some people are getting an eerie feeling about this. You know, there you have it. Is this really a possibility? Is this really something that they're trying to warn us about? And all of the credit that's due to the person that made this video will also be in the description. But I really just want to know what people think about this concept. Like, just let me know in the comments exactly what you think. Is this something we should be afraid of? Is this something that's going to be the new norm? Is this something that the New World Order is, you know, trying to regulate? Or is this something that's just recreational fun? This is something that, you know, is this another Tower of Babel moment where, you know, the humanoid mind is just so enlightened that it's, you know, recreating essence as though it's God? Is this something close to cloning? Is this the new alternative to cloning? Like, whatever you feel, put it down. Meet me in the comments section. Like if you want, subscribe if you want. But if you don't, it's still Tone. Definitely conscious. And we make sure consciousness is definite. Peace.